Hey everybody, it's Kayak Cliff, and on this episode we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about cold weather paddling. It's October 1st or 2nd here in North Texas, and it's still pretty warm. But I know in the rest of the country it's starting to get cooler, and we get really cold here as well, but it only lasts for about a day or two, then we're back up into the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So I want to talk about cold weather paddling, but not for the Arctic explorers, the people that want to buy $1,000 dry suits, get out in the snow, paddle in the ice, things like that. That's not what I'm aiming for. I want to talk to the average Joe or the average Jane paddler that just wants to get out on a day like, well, here, let me show you. I mean, what do you do when you have a day like this? I mean, it's perfectly calm. This is a finger of one of our big lakes. It's perfectly calm, but imagine it's 40 degrees outside. I'm talking about cold weather paddling when it's maybe 35 and above, preferably 40 and above. I get out a lot in the winter. It's just solitude out there when you paddle in the winter, in the 40s and the 50s. But you have to prepare and you have to dress for the occasion. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about, well, is footwear. But before we get to that, first and foremost, any time of year, make sure you have a life jacket. Even more important in the winter. Life jacket, first thing that you want. But again, you want that all the time. Boots. These are some of the biggest and best things that I have ever bought for paddling. When I'm paddling on a nice day in the winter, and I'm talking about, I'm not crossing great bodies of water. I'm not going out in the wind when it's really rough and things like that. I'm just taking nice days and I'm following the shoreline of a lake, and I'm being very conservative in my paddling. But these boots allow me to get out into up to, you know, almost knee-deep water. You know, it comes up to about my knees. These are neoprene boots. And it's neoprene all the way down here. It's just rubber coats and neoprene. They can be rather expensive. They're about $100 to $150, but these will last you for a very long time. I use these when I'm out camping and in the winter when it's cold, when it's been raining and there's slushy water and muck on the side of the house, or there's you know, snow, or any time that it's cold. I put these on, especially when I'm out kayaking. And there's two brands I recommend. This one, and I'll put links for all of these things I'm talking about in the description box. This brand, Lacrosse, is a great brand, and there's another brand called Muck, M-U-C-K. And Lacrosse boots and Muck boots, they make different thicknesses of neoprene. They will keep you warm. Just put on some wool socks, put your feet down inside these, you will be toasty comfy. And I just wear blue jeans, and I just stick my jeans into the boot. And then when I'm launching, if it's deeper water than this, I just find a better place to launch. But most any place you can launch and only have to walk into water about this deep. So wonderful, whether it's a sit inside or a sit on top kayak, these types of neoprene Muck or Lacrosse boots are perfect. Secondly, you want a good waterproof, you know, rain jacket. And one of my favorites, I've had this for probably 3 seasons now. This is the REI Rainier, R-A-N-I-E-R, and I'll put a link in the description box as well. It's a moderately priced jacket. I think it's only $99, $89, $99. But again, very good quality. It'll last you a long time. There's no insulating layer to this. You want to just layer with what you put underneath it. So put a couple sweatshirts on underneath it, you put your jacket on. And the thing I like about this is zips all the way up. If I need some ventilation, it has zippers for the armpits. So I can open up the armpits, and I can open up this a little bit, let airflow through. That way you don't get all soupy inside. The other thing you want is a reflective layer on the inside to reflect heat back to you and keep the heat inside the coat. but a very, very light coat that keeps drip and spray and things like that from the water off of you while you're paddling, but it keeps you warm, and just add extra layers underneath it for even added warmth. So again, a jacket's super important. How about those hands? Let's keep those hands warm. NRS makes some very good minimalist paddling gloves. Like the boots, these are neoprene, and they have great grip layers on the back to help you grip that paddle. These are made for paddling. And again, they're good in the 35 to 55 degree weather, really 40 to 55 degree weather. They're wonderful. NRS makes some heavier gloves that you could look at as well if you're going to go any colder. But NRS gloves, I'll put the link in the description box. Wonderful. Change hats here real quick. You know, a beanie. Beanie is super important. Lots of different beanies out there. You can find these everywhere. But a beanie is really important for you to have to keep that head warm. Now, if you're sitting on a sit-on-top kayak or a sit-inside kayak, Sea Eagle makes a wonderful kayaking blanket. Now, this is a waterproof layer right here. It even has the Sea Eagle logo on it. But you have a waterproof nylon layer to keep the water from going and touching your legs. And then you have a nice fleece inner layer that keeps you warm. And I'm going to get this kayak out and show you how you actually use it. Okay, sitting down in my prop here. Suppose I'm out paddling. I have the paddling boots on, these lacrosse boots that I told you about, and you can get a good indication as to how high they come up on the leg. And again, I stuff my jeans into these boots, and I wear nice wool socks, and they're wonderfully warm. But if I want to keep even more warmth on my legs, here's the paddling blanket. The paddling blanket has a little pocket here. This is where your feet go. So you drape that over your feet like so. Put that like that, and you are toasty warm. This is wonderful for sit-on-top kayaks, especially because your paddle drip falls on the blanket and just rolls right off. If you don't have the blanket, it falls on your boots typically and rolls right off as well, but this keeps you perfectly warm. Now, if you're on a sit-inside kayak, this works beautifully as well. I just love how the pocket just goes right over the toes of your boots. And man, I'm getting hot right now. But in the winter, this thing is wonderful. It's a kayaking blanket. I'll put the link for Sea Eagle in the description box. Now, I'm out of the kayak. If you paddle a sit-inside kayak, this is something that you might want to get if it has a cockpit that accepts a skirt, like my skirt. But the skirt is a seal that seals. It can be either made out of nylon like this one, or it can be neoprene, which is 100% waterproof. This one has a little zipper, so you can open it up and get down into the cockpit and get something out that you have like right there, like a water bottle. But the way it works, there's elastic that's built into it, and you sit down in your sit-inside kayak and you work this around the cockpit opening, and you get it all in there nice and tight, and then it seals you from the elements and keeps your warmth inside the kayak. It also keeps paddle drip and things like that from getting in the boat, which you might not care about. In the summer you probably don't, but in the winter you definitely don't want it in there. So invest in a good skirt. They are wonderful, especially in the colder months. Now, the Sea Eagle blanket that I just showed you, I forgot to mention, it rolls up. It has a built-in strap and a clasp that locks it shut, so you can just throw it in your kayak into the storage area of the kayak, or throw it in your car. It also works great at like football games, outside sporting events where it's cold, because you can put this over your leg. It really blocks the heat in. But those are the things I wanted to go over with regards to cold weather paddling for me, for the average Joe and Jane. But I wanted to go over this just to inspire you to not only think of the summer as your paddling time, but think of the winter as well. I mean, when it's a beautiful sunny day and there's not a lot of wind and you have a beautiful body of water to go to, when everybody else is watching the football game or whatever they're doing, get your kayak, get your paddle, get out to the lake for a couple hours of just solitude, and be safe out there. Wear your life jacket and let people know where you're going. Stay closer to the shoreline when you're in the winter. Also, you may want to keep some food in the boat and you know, fire starters or anything like that. If you did for some reason get stranded on a shoreline, you know, have some of the necessities to make it through a night if you think if that could happen, if you're going in an area where that could happen. But again, most of all, just get out there, get fit, enjoy the outdoors all seasons when you have good weather, and you know, safe adventuring out there. Hopefully I'll see you on the water sometime. God bless.